the release spans more than 100 pages, including a list of contacts. And joining me now, Article 3 project founder, our favorite lawyer, the one and only Mike Davis. Thank you so much for being on the program. So much happening today. Wow, wow, wow. We're still getting news coming in on the exact nature of the Epstein files and what we might learn in this first phase. And more broadly, what message does it send to the American people about this new DOJ and FBI, doing what they say they're going to do?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we saw this with President Trump. People are upset that President Trump hired Elon Musk and they're rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, that's exactly what President Trump told American voters he would do. He campaigned on this, and President Trump is doing something that's shocking in Washington, D.C. He's actually doing what he promised American voters he would do. The same thing at the Justice Department. Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing a fantastic job. She announced last night that they're going to release over 250 victim files from the Justice Department. Now, she said she needs to go through those to redact sensitive information so we don't re-victimize these victims. But how long have we been sitting on these files, and why did it take President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi to actually do this?
No, you're right about that. This should have been handled. This should have been done for sure. I get it as a former prosecutor. I always want to protect the victims in it. But yeah, this should have been released a long time ago. So hopefully they're going to go through it expeditiously and make sure that we, get all the information that the public deserves to know. You had a recent piece about the Supreme Court bringing the gavel down on activist judges, which is really important. We talked a lot about this on the show, hamstringing President Trump. Tell the audience what you mean and who you mean by an activist judge.
Well, we saw this again with the campaign. Trump said he was going to bring in Elon Musk, set up Doge, and root out waste, fraud, and abuse. And he's doing exactly what he promised American voters he would do. And he's exercising core Article 2 power, executive power under our Constitution, which requires, it's a constitutional duty on the president to take care that our laws are faithfully executed. And that includes making sure that money appropriated by Congress is not misspent, waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's exactly what President Trump is doing. This is core Article 2 power. He's also hiring, firing, recalling, transferring federal workers, which is his core constitutional duty as the chief executive officer and the commander-in-chief. And you have these activist judges who are trying to sabotage the president's Article 2 executive powers. President Trump is not trying to steal Article 1 legislative power from Congress. He's not trying to steal Article 3 judicial power from the Supreme Court. These activist judges are trying to steal his Article 2 executive powers.
Well, that's the big problem there, and you're very well versed in this subject matter. What is even, the constitutionality of a nationwide injunction? One judge can entirely put halt to any order that the president makes. It's just outrageous.
No, it's not constitutional because in order to have constitutional standing, as you know, Kimberly, you have to have injury in fact. You have to be a plaintiff before the courts with standing, with injury that can be redressed by the courts. You have specific plaintiffs making claims through a lawsuit and they get specific relief. This idea that you go to these activist judges and then they issue a nationwide injunction against the president of the United States is clearly unconstitutional. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court is starting to put on their big boy pants and stop this, like we saw with the Chief Justice John Roberts last night.
Meanwhile, that was excellent. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi dismissed DEI lawsuits, involving police officers, firefighters, furthering President Trump's, mandate to end all these illegal DEI policies. Talk to us about how this DOJ, under General Bondi, can actually, get the Office of Civil Rights back to its true intended purpose, and what else can get done.
I just had a very good meeting with Attorney General Pam Bondi and Amel Bove, her acting Deputy Attorney General, and many others in the Trump 47 Justice Department.
Yeah, if you hear me coughing,
and it is refreshing because unlike the Trump 45 Justice Department, Pam Bondi has, well, let's put it this way. She has backbone, right? And she is bold. She is fearless. She is going to follow the law, whether it's ending DEI lawsuits by the Biden Justice Department or releasing these Epstein files or firing people in the Sovereign District of New York who don't think they report to the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General. It's nice to have an Attorney General with backbone for once.
Oh my God. And we were waiting for this and talking about it so much on the show, you know, trying to see like, okay, let's pray for the future, for what's going to happen, that we can do this. But, you know, it just seems to me, Mike, the left is back, you know, to their old playbook, right? Weaponizing the law to try to shut him down. But our new DOJ won't let them succeed. And a big part of that, in my estimation, is the U.S. Attorney's offices actually around the country. Tell us how that works, you know, and where does it stand?
Yeah, so we just talked about this. We have U.S. attorneys around the country. I think there are like 94 of them.
Yeah.
And then you have these federal prosecutors, assistant United States attorneys. Well, the problem is you have some of these offices like the Southern District of New York and Manhattan who don't think that they report to anyone. And on who they report to is the Deputy Attorney General, who reports to the Attorney General, who reports to the President of the United States, who is elected by the American people. And you have prosecutors up in the Southern District of New York, and they think it's the Sovereign District of New York, and they don't think that they report to anyone. And so Amel Bove, President Trump's acting Deputy Attorney General, who came from the Southern District of New York in a past life, gave the Southern District of New York an important civics lesson. And he made it very clear to the attorney, to the U.S. attorney and the assistant U.S. attorneys up there that, listen, guys, this idea that you don't report to anyone is over. It's dangerous. You report through the chain of command, and if you don't like it, too damn bad, go get another job.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm all about the chain of command, and we're seeing that much more in play and being respected, and the rule of law and the Constitution. And so, by the way, you know, President Trump confirmed a lot of judges in his first term, as you recall. What vacancies are we looking at there? What does it look like? You know, what do you think? What's your expectation level? I'm always excited for an opportunity to get great judges in.
Well, unfortunately, fortunately, I guess, we broke so much China in President Trump's first term. I broke so much China in the Senate as the chief counsel for nominations. We confirmed a record number of President Trump's judges and set up the conveyor belt. Unfortunately, Joe Biden took advantage of that conveyor belt and confirmed a record number of his radical judges.
That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. There aren't a lot of vacancies left to fill, but I'll tell you this, that the Article 3 project will be working very closely with President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi and White House counsel David Warrington and their teams to make sure that President Trump picks even more bold and fearless judges in his second term. President Trump's biggest and most consequential accomplishment in his first term was the transformation of the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts, particularly the courts of appeals. He's going to build on that in his second term with even more bold and even more fearless judges.
I really believe it. I'm looking forward to Supreme Court pick or two as well. What role can the executive branch have in these, you know, hostile jurisdictions, especially on the issues of DEI and immigration?
Well, on the immigration front, these jurisdictions that think that they're sanctuary cities are meeting a very mean and effective man named Tom Homan, and he's not going to put up with their nonsense, and nor is Pam Bondi.
No.
So if they want to be charged with harboring illegal immigrants, keep doing what you're doing. I don't think that Tom Homan or Pam Bondi would have any problem putting one of these sanctuary city mayors in prison for harboring illegal immigrants. But so I think that the illegal immigrants issue is going to take care of itself. You're seeing illegal immigrants deporting themselves, self-deporting. And that I would say instead of bringing in fentanyl, President Trump is bringing in illegal immigrants with $5 million gold cards and now even Ukrainian minerals. So it's a great thing for this country. And look, President Trump is not messing around in his second term. He's hiring people who are bold, who are fearless, who are serious, and they were ready to govern on day one as the left and the uniparty in DC learned the hard way.
We also saw a Jack Smith EO this week targeting the Covington law firm. What do we need to know about that? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I would say this. The president is the commander in chief. He gets to decide, and he alone gets to decide who gets classified information and who does not. And when you have law firms, whether it's Covington and Burling or other law firms like Perkins Coie, participating in unprecedented Republic-ending lawfare and election interference, where you have politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement making up the Russian collusion hoax and lying to the FISA court and coming up with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and then covering it up with unprecedented lawfare, 4 indictments, a civil fraud lawsuit trying to bankrupt Trump for non-fraud, trying to throw him off the ballot. If you aid and abet that effort, you probably shouldn't be touching classified records. So President Trump made sure that that doesn't happen.
And these white shoe law firms across the country have been an arm of the left. What does that look like now?
It's amazing where these fancy law firms were so confident that President Trump was done after the Mar-a-Lago raids. And I don't think they expected that the American people wouldn't accept the fact that these left-wing radical prosecutors and agents and judges and jurors and these Democrat hellholes were going to decide the election instead of the American people. And so these white shoe law firms are going to get a MAGA boot up their behinds pretty quickly.
Well, it's happening so fast, just a bit over, 30 days. And it's pretty exciting to see the tremendous amount of, results and promises made, promises kept. I mean, give me your highlight reel, Mike, of what you think was most effective, most important, essential that he's accomplished. And also further, what would you like to see going forward as he fulfills his promises to the American people?
When President Trump ran in 2016, he had never run for office. He had never held office. And I think he'll even admit that his mistake was personnel. He hired people who were too DC insider, too swamp. He didn't make that mistake this time. He's hiring bold and fearless people led by White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. She is no nonsense. And they are assembling an all-star cabinet, an all-star White House team, and they are getting stuff done. They're ready to govern on day one with executive orders, and they have legislative priorities. They are bold. They are fearless. They are going to get a lot of things done. They've already gotten more done in 4 weeks than Joe Biden got done in 4 years.
So good.
And I am very excited for Pam Bondi and her team at the Justice Department to make sure that there is much needed accountability for the unprecedented Republic-ending lawfare against President Trump, his top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who went to prison, his supporters on January 6th who were persecuted, parents, Christians. There's going to be accountability for this. Nobody's above the law.
All right. And tell us about the new U.S. Attorney in D.C., Ed Martin. Talk about the seismic shift that we're witnessing.
Ed Martin's a friend of mine, and I'm very happy to support his nomination for the U.S. Attorney. He's going to focus the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office on real crimes, violent street crimes, that guess who those hurt the most in Washington, D.C.? Poor Black people stuck in these crime-ridden hellhole neighborhoods are going to benefit the most because President Trump is putting Ed Martin in charge of street crimes in D.C. instead of Joe Biden putting Matthew Graves in charge of rounding up grandmas who trespassed and took selfies on January 6th, 2021.
It's so crazy. I can't believe we're still dealing with that. Look, I mean, President Trump, I think also, I just want to talk to you for 2 seconds about just the legality and some of the principles, of what's happening now with the deportations. Like you said, Tom Homan, amazing. Border security is national security. How do you see that going and working out and just sort of the legal ramifications there?
Just President Trump getting out there and stopping the mass invasion of our country, closing down the CBP-1 app that Biden set up to mass import these illegal immigrants, stopping these sanctuary cities, telling the employers that they're going to be charged for employing these people, stopping the federal government from putting them up in hotels, stopping the benefits. We have a new sheriff in town. President Trump is making it very clear that America is open to people who want to come here and follow the law and contribute, and people like Agua gangs, get the hell out.
Yeah. And let's talk about you, shall we? What is the Article 3 project up to?
We've been very busy, Kimberly.
I know.
We helped President Trump win this lawfare against him, helped with the 4,500 media hits over several years, turned lemons into lemonade, and helped him win back the White House. Now we're focused on President Trump's cabinet picks. Remember, all the very smart people in Washington said Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. were dead on arrival. Their nominations were dead on arrival. And then we had over 50,000 Americans make over 200,000 phone calls and emails and social media posts to their home state senators. We went from dead on arrival to when can they start in about 3 days. Now we got President Trump's cabinet picked. We're working on their sub-cabinet, and we're gonna help President Trump pick and confirm his judges. We are gonna be with President Trump every single day, every step of the way for the next 4 years at the Article 3 project.
I love it. You guys are doing such a great job, and really a tremendous job with all those cabinet picks as well, and helping usher them through. Pretty exciting. I mean, every day is like a big breaking news day with President Trump. So it's always something happening. And then, like you said, we're going to wait and see with these Epstein files. You expecting anything big out of that, by the way?
Well, I would say this. I mean, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, said that there were over 250 victims of this monster. There has to be accountability for this.
All right. Well, let's make sure it'll happen. I think with Pam in there, it for sure will. Mike Davis, thank you again. You're a great patriot and our favorite lawyer. Much more breaking news coverage just ahead. But first,